Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my latest book haul. This is me trying to show restraint when it comes to book buying. Pango is partially to blame. Finishing a couple of challenges where the reward was buying myself more books is to blame. But really, I haven't exceeded my actual book budget, but I was kind of thinking maybe I should spend a little bit less on books and a little more on something else. Either way, we've got a nice haul here to show for it. First up, I got myself the new Castiel's Servant book by Jacqueline Carey. I've started this one already, which is excellent turnaround time for me because things that I buy usually sit unread on my shelves for years. Well, I really can't say that anymore. I actually am getting to my books a lot sooner than I used to. I thought this was kind of like a parallel timeline to Kushiel's Dart, but it's actually beforehand. It's like an origin story of one of the best characters in fantasy, in my opinion, and how he learns to become a religious warrior, essentially. It's so freaking good, and it's told with the same beautiful, like, poetic writing. You just feel so connected to the characters. I love that I have a copy of this, and I love that I'm enjoying it so much so far. It might be a parallel timeline as you get further along in the story, but right now we're just kind of like in the growing ages. Blood of Dragons, Book 4 in the Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. I've been slowly replacing my really ugly US editions with these beautiful UK hardcovers. Trouble is I was having a hard time getting a hold of this particular hardcover. The only copies available on Abe Books were library copies, and so this is an ex-library copy, which, by the way, I didn't realize until I got it, and it was all shrink wrapped and everything, so I tore all the stickers off, and it'll work. I have another one on the way. I only paid like $8 for it, and so we're gonna see if the condition of that is a bit better. But yeah, these are surprisingly hard to get a hold of right now, at least from the markets that I have access to. But I am one of the few who really loved this particular segment of the Realm of the Elderlings, and I will defend it from the rooftops, just not in this video. I have Across the Sorrow Sea by Anthony Ryan, book 5 in the Seven Swords series. I still have not finished Blackfire Keep. That came out last year. It was like a high priority one that I kept dragging from month to month, and finally I'm like, apparently I'm not going to read this. So I bought the next book in the series. I still need to read that one and this one, and I'm putting it in for my incomplete series challenge, so hopefully it'll get drawn for that, because left to my own devices, like, it's so short. It's a novella, and I kept thinking, like, hey, super easy to get through. I can blow through it in a day, so I can read it at any time, and then I don't. But it's a signed copy, which is pretty cool. Love this author. Pango Books is a dangerous thing. I bought The Chemist by Stephanie Meyer. I paid more for shipping for this one than I did the actual book, but I do like Stephanie Meyer's writing. I enjoyed The Host. I haven't read this one. I have no idea what it's about, but I thought, for a cheap hardcover, okay, I was weak, all right? I probably won't pick this up for a long time, but if I do, I'm gonna be happy that I have a nice hardcover of it if I end up liking it. This purchase was a little more premeditated. I have Ruined and Avenged by Amy Tintera. These are replacing paperback versions of the same books that I already own. I really like this author's reboot duology. It was one of the better ones of that type that I've read in YA format. And this one, I think it's like combat related, like fighting to become champions, that kind of thing. That's the impression that I'm getting from the series. I had been keeping my eye out for inexpensive copies of these in hardcover, so now I can add them to the collection and replace the paperbacks. I bought the broken binding edition of Sons of Darkness, and like the sprayed edges and everything, I'm pretty sure it's signed. Yeah, I just think this book is so pretty. And I've been trying to make a point of buying the books that I think I might enjoy while they're still available in hardcover, and then I can like make a decision what to do with them later. It's a much less risky thing to do since I now have a way to sell books on Pango, not sponsored. But before, if I bought a book and I didn't like it, I was kind of just stuck with it, like sunk costs or whatever. So now I actually have an outlet. So I'm much more willing to buy new releases and take the chance on them, and if I don't like them, I can just unhaul them later. But this one's absolutely gorgeous. I'm really glad I picked it up. I love throwing support to some of my favorite booktubers, and the Bookish Chaz had the Hyperion Omnibus on sale on his Pango shop, and I picked it up. I enjoyed the first book. It kind of creeped me out enough to the point where, like, I didn't want to continue right away, but you kind of have to. So now I have to go back and reread the first one to continue on in the next ones. But this edition was really cool, and I didn't have one for my shelves, so like that worked out. I picked up a special edition copy of The Witch King by Martha Wells. This is a kind of a newer book. It's got the sprayed edges, which, by the way, evidently I'm a special edition collector now. But I thought the artwork in here was so freaking cool. And I think Martha Wells takes the cake as the most pathetic signature writer on the market. I'm just saying. I had my eye on this one. Again, kind of a newer release that I thought I might get around to sooner than later, so picked up a copy. I have just a regular edition of City of Last Chances by Adrian Tchaikovsky. I thought this was a standalone, but I just saw the cover for the second one. I really don't know anything about it, but I like going into his works blind because, I mean, he's got such a variety of things. This could be about literally anything. One of the more delightful surprises from my library TBR video, Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I loved this book. Unconventional contemporary romance. She hangs a lantern immediately on what makes most romances hard to bear because they're just repetitive and all that. She offers enough of a twist, and she makes the relationship more than just about the man and the woman. My favorite part of the book is the dynamic between the main character and her sister. Really witty. Loved it enough that I wanted a copy for my shelves, so this will join the ranks of the very few romances that I've read that I'm actually keeping. I supported the Kickstarter for the Sword of Kaijin Kickstarter by ML Wong. In fact, I kind of had forgotten that I signed up to do that until the charge hit my account and the book showed up. I'm like, oh, okay, great. It never rains here, and it was raining so hard when this book was delivered that water got in the mailbox. The box this came in was absolutely soaked, and the book almost got damaged. I don't know how it survived it. I'm lucky we checked the mail when we did. But anyway, this is like a beautiful heavy copy. Interior artwork, I'm sure if you follow BookTube at all, you've already seen it online. And signed by the author, which is pretty dang cool. Now, the first half of this book, I thought it was just okay. I really wasn't that invested. But there's a moment in the book, and if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, where everything changes. And suddenly this becomes one of the most profound things I've read. So really glad to add a beautiful hardcover to my collection. I don't know what possessed me to buy these. I was just browsing things on Broken Binding, and I saw that there was still a couple of copies of these left. It's the Memory Called Empire, the sprayed edges. So gorgeous. Signed copy, beautiful naked hardcovers. So here's the thing about this book. I read Memory Called Empire for a reviewing obligation for Audiophile magazine when I was listening to stuff for them. And I don't know if it was because it was an obligation read or what, but I just was not into it. I did not enjoy it, and it was like a 3-star read at the end of the day. My review on Goodreads of this one has more comments and engagement than any review I've ever written in like the 12 years I've been on there. It was a very polarizing book, and evidently my review was like sparked a lot of excitement on it. I was not trying to be controversial. It was one of those books that I really hadn't heard anybody else talk about up to that point because I was kind of an early mover on it because of the review obligation. And so I thought maybe 20 people will see this review. Yeah, no, that's not the case. I got a lot of attention for a very lukewarm review of this book, and yet I picked it up. I was like, it didn't deliver on anything I hoped it would. But the thing is so many people have commented to the contrary on that one that I'm like, was it me? Was I just not in the right mindset? If I try reading it again, will I appreciate it more if I do it on my terms? It's kind of what I'm hoping to find out. Now, I have to be honest, this was like completely like a beautiful cover buy. But if I try it again someday and find out I absolutely love it upon the second read when I have more time and attention to give to it, great. If not, then I'm sure I can sell them for about what I paid for them at some point. I have The Bullet Journal Method by Ryder Carroll. This was gifted to me by a dear friend and patron Betsy, and she gave it to me over a year ago. I love bullet journaling. It's how I keep track of my entire life, and I have a video on how I keep track of books via bullet journal. But in any case, it's really cool to have like the OG of bullet journal books in my collection, and I have referenced it on several occasions. I got the Goldsboro edition of The Traitor by Anthony Ryan. It's the third book in his Pariah series. Covenant of Steel is the actual name. I love this author so much that even though Pariah didn't work for me, I decided to support anything that he's going to write and publish in the future. And here's the thing, I didn't like Pariah because of a writing decision like plot structures. He kind of started the story over a couple of different times, and the character is a martyr, and he's in his own way, and he doesn't like do anything to advance his own status in life, and I just it drove me crazy. But from a craft standpoint, it was written really well. So I'm continuing to buy the series because I think at some point I will probably try to continue on with it, and I love that it's like a beautiful edition, signed and everything, and it matches the ones that I already have that are signed, so you can't love everything. I splurged for these beautiful Orbit editions of The Witcher, and here's the thing, like I follow people who I really love who hate this series, I follow people who I really love who love this series, and I have no idea where I'm going to fall with it. I'm kind of leaning towards maybe not liking it, but I'm hoping I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. But in any case, like these editions were just so dang cool that I knew I would be kicking myself years from now if I end up loving the series and didn't pick them up. And it's not as risky as it sounds. My husband also loves the show and so wants to read the books. So even if I don't like them, he'll probably love them. But like, look at this. It's absolutely beautiful. We also are planning to sell the paperback versions we bought a couple years ago, so that maybe will help cover the cost of a few of these. But they weren't actually that bad. I mean, like retail like $24.99. Some of them were cheaper on Amazon, so as a whole, really cool. I bought Demons of Good and Evil by Kim Harrison, and this is the latest book in the Hollow series, like the revamped version where we're focusing on the demons. This one came out back in June, and I just haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but very high priority. You wouldn't know it by my reading rate, but I will continue to read anything that this author produces because I love her works. She got her start as a high fantasy writer, and that very slow pacing, like enmeshed with the characters, she brings that to her urban fantasy setting, and I feel like that's why it kind of sets her stuff apart from everybody else's. Really rich, immersive writing. Deep connections with the characters. Absolutely love it. And last but not least, I picked up a broken binding edition of Legends and Lattes. Author signed, sprayed edges. There's a surprising variety of hardcovers out for this book, but I liked the original. I liked the fun artwork on here, and I wanted to make sure I snagged a copy of this one. I liked this book a lot more than I thought I would. Like, I don't know, I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to fantasy. I do like the lighthearted stuff, but I'm always afraid of the hype train. This one was quite good. I just finished the second one, Bookshops and Bone Dust, and even though I've pre-ordered a copy already, I didn't like it quite as much as this one. This was like 4-5-star range. That one was about 3-4-star range. But yeah, like the inner workings of running a coffee shop, I find that highly fascinating. So that's the haul. I feel like I'm at the point where my hauls are getting really curated and I'm only picking up things that I'm like super excited to read, or special editions like beautiful copies. And I say that with all seriousness, and then I remember I just placed an order to Book Outlet that's got like, I don't know, 15 books coming that are just a random hodgepodge of things, but whatever. Books are my vice, everybody gets one. Let me know where you're at on the Witcher series. Is it worth the hype? Am I gonna love it or am I gonna hate it? Thanks so much for joining me on this one, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye. And the cart is empty, waiting for more books to be purchased.